I used to feel so devastated. At times I thought we never make it, but now we on our way to greatness. And all that ever took was patience.
It's levels to it, you and I know. Bitch, be humble. Sit down. Be humble. Sit down. Be humble. Bitch, sit down.
Alright, back at it with the only free MMA channel that fucking matters. And my boy Killer Cub requested this video. He said, fuck, I don't got the email pulled up, dude. But he pretty much appreciate the channel. Can you do Cub Swanson versus the world? And yes, sir, Bob, I can do that for you, sir. So I'm gonna get this done. Let's get it done. Well, how we do this? We motherfucking do the knowledge on Cub Swanson's history. And then we go into Cub Swanson versus the 115 in his division. So let's do the history. Cub Swanson is a savage, easily one of the best lightweights. Easily one of the best featherweights right now. Easily one of the #1 contenders. One of my favorite featherweights. One of the best featherweights on the planet. Cub motherfucking Swanson. He's 33 years old. He's got 25 wins and 7 losses. He only has 3 losses in the UFC. His very first fight in the UFC to Ricardo Lamas, he was submitted. Then he went on like a 6-fight win streak after that. And then he lost to Max Holloway and Frankie Edgar consecutively, both by submission. Since then, he's been on a 4-fight win streak. So he's 10-3 in the UFC. Fucking savage. His last fight was against Artem Lobov. Fight before that, Doo-Ho Choi, the Korean Superboy. Some people say fight of the year. Cub Swanson was whooping that boy's ass all night. Cub Swanson is one of the most entertaining fighters in featherweight. One of the most well-rounded fighters at featherweight. The only guys he's ever lost to really are literally the top guys in the world. I'll go through all of his losses. Even before the UFC, he was losing to the best guys. In the UFC, he's only lost to Ricardo Lamas, Frankie Edgar, and Max Holloway. Those are literally #1, 2, and 3 in the division. Now Max Holloway is the champion, so that's 1 and 2. Yeah, champion 1 and 2. We don't know where Aldo's gonna go. So he's literally only lost to the guys at the very top of the division in the UFC. Before the UFC, he fought in the WEC. He lost to Chad Mendez and Jose Aldo in the WEC, 2 of the best fighters in the world still. Before that, the only person he lost to was Jens Pulver. And Jens Pulver, he's also not just a fucking scrub. He lost his very first professional fight ever, but that was nothing. He was like fucking 17 or 18 or something. He was young as hell. But since then, he's became one of the best featherweight fighters in the world, and he still is that today. He's on currently riding a 4-fight win streak. After he lost his very first fight in the UFC, he went on a 6-fight win streak, and in that 6-fight win streak, it looked like he was cleaning up the featherweight division, the entire division. And in that streak, he beat Ross Pierce. The first fight was George Roop. After that, straight contenders. Oliveira. Oh shit, my screen just scrolled. Dustin Poirier, Dennis Seaver, Jeremy Stevens. So in that 6-fight winning streak, 5 of those guys are still big names in the featherweight division. Dennis Seaver not so much anymore, but Poirier, Stevens, Oliveira, Ross Pearson, all good fighters. Those are the guys he wins as that 6-fight win streak, but he still beat the Korean Superboy and Artem Lobov. He's on a 4-fight winning streak. And now, let's get into his case for the title against Max Holloway. Actually, we're going to save that for a debate. I'm going to do a debate right after this, actually, on who deserves it over Frankie Edgar and Cub Swanson. And if you go off of stats and reason, you might say Frankie Edgar, but I actually have a case that Cub Swanson deserves the title shot over Frankie Edgar. So, that's the knowledge on his resume. 10-3 in the UFC. Fucking savage. One of the best fighters in the world at featherweight, for sure. He has lost to everybody ranked above him. Jose Aldo, Max Holloway, Frankie Edgar, Ricardo Lamas. But that has been since 2015. He says he's in his prime now, 2017. He could rematch all of these guys. He has not lost to any of them more than one time. So a rematch with all of these guys, he could redeem himself. I'll definitely be tuning into every one of Cub Swanson's fight for the remainder of his career, He's one of those fighters. He's a real fighter. He's not an athlete that fights. He's a real fucking fighter. So if you don't know about Cub Swanson, if you're asleep on Cub Swanson, he's definitely a fan favorite fighter. And there's not much. I'm not gonna fucking sit here and slob on the dude's knob. But what I'm saying is he's easily one of the fucking best featherweights in the world. He easily could win the belt. He has lost to those guys, but I mean, if they fight 5 times, he might win 2 of them. He could win. He could definitely win if given the opportunity. He's been close to the title. If he would have beat Frankie Edgar, he would have got the title shot. He was on a 6-fight win streak. He's been close to the title. Frankie Edgar. All right, I'm gonna get into that on the next video. That's part of the debate. All right. So let's get into what I think would happen with Cub Swanson versus 1 through 15 in featherweight. In 1 through 15 in featherweight, let's see what we got. We got the champion, Max Holloway. I think, man, Max Holloway is literally my fucking guy. 11-fight win streak. Cubs on a 4-fight win streak. He's part of Max Holloway's win streak. You gotta give the nod to Max Holloway. Dude, that fight would be so good, just so entertaining. I mean, we've already seen one of them, but just what Cubs did since the loss, what Max Holloway did since the win, you couldn't hate that rematch. But I would give the nod to Holloway. We don't know what they're gonna do with Aldo, so we'll say Aldo. After what we've seen out of Max Holloway in the Aldo fight, man, he lost to Jose Aldo in the WEC. With what we've seen lately from both of these guys, I would have to give the nod to Cub. I would have to give the nod to Cub. A lot of you might think conventional wisdom, Aldo the GOAT, you can't pick against Aldo. But Cub Swanson, man's looking really good, and we just seen how Aldo looked against Holloway, so I'm gonna go with Cub against Aldo. Frankie Edgar, damn, man, that's a tough one. I would have to give it to Frankie Edgar, but still, shit, damn. I would like to see the fight, but I would just have to give it to Frankie, man. Frankie's solid. Frankie's too fucking solid. Frankie's a legend. Frankie's still there. Maybe in 1 more year, 2 more years, he'll get Frankie. But right now, I just got to give it to Frankie, man. I got to give it to Frankie. Frankie, if he's not the most entertaining fighter, he's definitely one of the best featherweights in the world. Definitely one of the best fighters. Like, Frankie is underrated because his fighting style isn't the most entertaining, but he's definitely up there. So I would give Ricardo Lamas. Man, he's supposed to Korean Zombie. Korean Zombie just pulled out of the fight. Maybe if they give Frankie Edgar the Holloway fight, they'll give him the Lamas fight. Maybe they'll say, hey, whichever one of you guys fight Lamas, if you win, you get Max Holloway. Since we got a dilemma here, who's it gonna be, Frankie or Cub? Okay, so against Ricardo Lamas, I would pick Cub Swanson because Cub Swanson's my fucking boy, man. Ricardo Lamas is solid. He's a really good fighter, but I would honestly have to go with Cub Swanson and where he's at right now in his career. 4 streak. He has lost to Ricardo Lamas, but that was his first fight in the UFC. I do think Cub could come back and get that rematch, that vindication. The Korean Zombie versus Cub. I would give it to Cub, man. Korean Zombie just had to pull out of a fight due to another injury. He's been inactive. He did get a knockout over Dennis Bermudez, but I would give Cub Swanson the nod in that fight. Anthony Pettis is not a featherweight anymore. Take him off the list. I'll give it to my boy Cub. What you talking about, dude? Yair Rodriguez, definitely Cub Swanson. It'd be sort of like the Duho Choi fight, but maybe even worse. You might whoop his ass worse. I don't think Yair's ready for these guys at the top 5. I would definitely give that to Cub. Brian Ortega, Dennis Bermudez, Renato Moicano, Darren Elkins, Duho Choi, Mirsad Bektik, Henan Barral. All of these guys, I've definitely got Cub Swanson. He's one of the best in the world. He's where he needs to be. Out of the top 3, the only guy I think Cub Swanson's, or actually I think he could beat Aldo and Lamas, but I do think he would have trouble with Frankie Edgar and Max Holloway. But I would definitely love to see the fights. Doesn't matter who they book Cub Swanson against, I'll be watching. So yeah, man, that's the world. I don't know what else to say, man. Shout out motherfucking Killer Cub for the request. It is what it is. Fuck it. Let the hitters know what you think in the comments. Bow, bow.